Hey guys, what's going on? Tyler here, and today we're talking about the image element within Elementor Basic and Elementor Pro. If you're interested in upgrading to Elementor Pro at any time, be sure and check that link down below in the description. See what kind of price you can get. It's just an incredible plugin, and I absolutely love using it. If you're interested in any kind of web hosting, be sure and check that link down below in the description as well. It's not GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, any of the typical ones that you think of. It's actually something unique, and I absolutely love the company, and the web hosting has just made my site so much faster. So be sure and check that out if you're interested. Let's go ahead and jump into building a page with an image. All right, guys, so we're going to go over all of the options and settings and customization and attributes for an image right here, and we're going to do it very quickly. So stick with us here. Let's go ahead and drag in an image right here, and that is just how easy it is to put an image in your Elementor web page. So all we're going to do is hover over here and click Choose Image, and it's going to bring up the WordPress browser, and you're going to go ahead and select your image. All right, so I've selected my image right here. This is just a basic profile picture of mine. And one thing I do want to mention before we actually jump into all the settings and customization here is that if you resize through this menu right here, you will notice that there is a somewhat of a downgrade in the quality. There's kind of like a blur there. If we switch it actually through, let's leave it here at large and switch it through the style here, and change it to, if we go over here and select pixels, let's go ahead and change it to 300 as well. You'll notice there's no blur or downgrading quality there. So whenever you're resizing an image in Elementor, make sure that you're changing it through the style tab and not through the content image size menu. That's just one little quirk I found about images, and it really helps to do it through the style tab. You don't have any kind of like low quality, I don't know, just like compressing the image or anything like that. So let's go ahead and just start with the basics and explain how to use this image element. All right, so these are the basics on the content tab of the image element. You can simply align your image by selecting left, right, or center. By default, it comes as center. And you can add a caption by simply clicking caption, and you can put the attachment caption, or you can put a custom caption, and you can type in your custom caption right down below. And it basically is just italicized text that pops up right down below the image, and it's great for visitors. That kind of shows them like a little bit of a description or a caption for the image there. So we don't need a caption. We'll just go ahead and hit none here. If we need a link, we can click that right here, and we can click media file. This will bring up a light box, so when we actually click the image, it comes up in sort of a preview mode like that. If we want to link it to a website, we can go ahead and click custom URL. That will allow us to put in one of our own pages or a completely different website. If you need that website to open in a new window, you can go ahead and click link options and click open in new window there. Let's go ahead and jump to the style tab and really get into this image stylization. All right, here we are in the style tab, and we've gone over the width right here. If you need to adjust the size of an image, you'll simply do it right here. I choose to work in pixels right here. You can work in percentage or VW right there. The max width is basically going to be the max size that the website will allow this image to resize to. So let's say you're, have a website built out for desktop, but then it's also responsive to mobile and tablet, and you need it to stay within certain parameters. You can go ahead and set that right here. For this example, we're not going to need that, so we'll just go ahead and continue on. Right here under normal, we have the opacity, and this is going to be the percentage of transparency. So opacity at a level 1.00 is going to be 100% there, and transparency or opacity at 0.00 is going to be completely transparent. So as we drag this up, you can see we're now at a 0.16, so this is 16% opacity, meaning it is only there 16%, and the other 84% is transparent. So let's go ahead and just drag this up, and you can see it gets more and more transparent. This might be helpful if you have other text or anything behind it, or you need some kind of like semi-transparent effect. you can definitely do that right there. If you would like to do that under hover, you can also do that as well. You can go ahead and click hover and change the opacity to something like that. And when you hover over, you get that same effect, it going semi-transparent just like that. We'll go ahead and go back to normal and continue on. The CSS filters are going to go ahead and allow you to fine tune and tweak this image at all. If you need to blur it, if you need to brighten it, you can do that right from here. If you need to add or subtract some contrast, if you need to adjust the saturation. By the way, a little helpful tip, bringing your saturation all the way down will make the image black and white if that's what you're attempting to do. Hue will go ahead and replace colors with other colors. So when we bring that saturation back up, you can see the hue is changing the tint or kind of that like shade over the image. Let's go ahead, if you need to reset, you can just click this little reset back to defaults. And that is basically how you would fine tune and tweak the all the different parameters and attributes of the image there. If we want a border, it's very simple. We just go to border type. We want solid, double, dotted, dashed, or groove. We'll just hit solid. And then you need to set a width for the border. By default, this little link, when it is grayed out, that means that these 4 numbers here, top, right, bottom, left, are all connected and linked. So when you up one of them, all of them are going to be linked and upped as well. If you want to only work on one side, you can go ahead and uncheck this little link here, and you can go ahead and we'll just work on the top here. You can see that that top border is now moving alone. If we want to go ahead and just click that link again, that will link them all back up to the largest value there, I believe. So let's go ahead and just set a border. We can go ahead and adjust that border size just like that. And if we need to go back to default, we can just simply delete one of the values and that will remove it just like that. We'll go ahead and go back to border type and select none, so we have no border there, and we'll move on. So border radius is very simple. All it's going to be is the roundness of the corners. And so you can go ahead just like that. You can link or unlink and just do one side. If we unlink, you can see, let's just go left right here. You can see that bottom left corner coming in and rounding itself up just like that. And it creates that kind of cool effect looking thing there. Let's go ahead and link it and it'll go back to 0. If we move these up, you can see all of the corners are now coming in round. And when you keep going up and you go up and up and up and up to the point where this actually will turn into a circle just like that. So if you're needing your image to be in a circle format, but you only have a square image, you can simply use border radius to bring all the corners in just like that and create this circle effect just like that. So let's go ahead and just delete that value and go back to normal. Here is a box shadow. We can go ahead and hit edit there. And this is going to move the shadow along the x-axis there. And so you can move it left or right there. Just by the amount there. Typically, I like to leave it about 12, and I like to move the shadow down a little bit also. This will move the shadow on the y-axis, so up and down there. I will move it up to 12 as well. So that kind of creates that shadow kind of down at the bottom, you know, of the image, so it kind of makes it feel like it's popping off the page a little bit. The blur is actually going to be the blur and sharpness of the edge of the shadow here, so you can really blur it out and it feels a lot less defined there, or you can bring it all the way in and that will make it completely sharp and just basically a semi-transparent black box back there. A good default is around maybe 10. It kind of creates that shadow there, that edge there that is visible, but it's still blurred enough so you know it's a shadow. The spread is just going to be how wide it spreads in or out. So you can really see that we'll just spread the shadow in or out like that. By default, it's set to 0. So let's go ahead and just reset this. We don't need a box shadow for this example. If you want to go over to hover, there's all the same options. You can go ahead and set up a box shadow. So when you hover, there's a box shadow. If you want to hover and the border radius, so the rounded corners change, or if you need to add a border when you hover, you can do all of that there. The hover animation, we can go ahead and set this. Let's just set it to pulse. Now when I hover over it, you're going to see the image is pulsing. Go through these, there's a ton of them if you want to set any of those different options right there, if that's something that you're looking for. And then if you go ahead and set one, let's go just to shrink, for example. You can set the transition duration. So let's make this really fast, only half a second. You can see it shrunk really quickly. If we bring this all the way up to 3 seconds, you can see it's going to shrink very slowly, and it takes that full 3-second duration. So let's go ahead and just backspace this, get that out of there, and remove the hover animation. That's pretty much it, guys, for the Style tab. Let's go ahead and move on to the Advanced tab. All right, guys, so this Advanced menu is going to be very similar for almost all elements. So you'll see a lot of similar options here, but margin is basically going to move the image in relative to other elements above or below it. Padding is going to give it space in its column itself. So if we up the padding here, you can actually see, we're gonna go ahead and up this. You can see there's now space here between the column border here and the edge of the image on every side there. So we now have 62 pixels around the entire thing. So that just gives some padding if you need. Let's say, you make the column background color black or something like that. You want to give it some padding so it's kind of more in the middle, but the column is still, staying nice and big there. So that's how you would use that. Z index is the actual Z axis, or the third dimensional axis that you're going to go ahead and set what level and layer the image is laying on. So for example, if you have text and an image, they might be laying like this, but what if you put them on top of each other? Which one's going to show? Well, it kind of depends on which one is first in the code and all this different stuff. So the Z index allows you to, this is the web page laying flat, by the way, and you're looking down on it like this. If you want the text to show up above the image, you would simply set a Z index for the text higher than the image. So you could set, and it doesn't really matter what number it is, you could set the Z index to 999, and you could set of the text, and then you could set the Z index of the image to 24. And the text would lay on top of the image. And you could also switch it up vice versa, essentially. So if you wanted the image on top of the text, you could set that image Z index to 68, and you could set the Z index of the text to 23, and it would be just over top, just like that. So essentially you can stack elements on top of each other on the third dimensional axis, that is the axis that you're looking into the web page, and you can align them on layers like that using the Z index right there. So it's a little bit more advanced. If that's a little too much for you, don't even worry about it. Just start making things on the same plane. But if you are looking to stack elements on top of each other, you can definitely work with the Z index right there. That's all under advanced. Let's go to motion effects here. Scrolling effects, you have mouse effects. You can go ahead and change this sticky. This will allow you to stick the image to the top or the bottom of the page. So as I'm scrolling here, you can see it now sticks to the top of the page while I'm scrolling here. If you want to do that, you can certainly do that right there. And then entrance animation, this might be something you use. Basically, you can just have a little animation play on the element when the page is loaded or when this comes into view. So when I'm scrolling down and this comes into view, that little fade in and slide in left will happen. So if you want to change the animation duration, you can do that right here, or if you need there to be a delay. And again, this is in milliseconds, so 1000 milliseconds would be a delay. So it's going to go, you're going to scroll down to it, and then it's going to go 1 second, and then it'll play the animation. So for this, we don't need any of this entrance animation or anything like that, so we'll just leave it to default. There's a whole bunch of other options. I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically one other one I did want to mention is responsive right here. And this is going to be, like I said, the same for other elements as well. But basically, if you want to hide this image on desktop, you can check that right there, and it will only show on tablet and mobile browsers, or browsers that fit that pixel ratio or that pixel size. So basically it will always be hidden on desktop as long as they're using a normal sized browser. So if you need to change it and maybe you only want this to show on desktop, you can go ahead and check this here so it's hidden on tablet, and check this here so it's hidden on mobile, and that will hide it from tablet and mobile. So that's really nice. And then last but not least is just to go ahead and publish your page and put your image out there. And that's pretty much it, guys. those are all the options and settings and tweaking that you can do to the image element. I really hope this has helped. It's really just been a super smooth and fluid transition to using Elementor, and I use images all over my site, so it was definitely important that I learned how to do this. So hopefully this tutorial helped you guys, and like I said, be sure and check out the link down below if you're interested in Elementor Pro, as well as that hosting. You can go ahead and check out that link down below as well. Please do me a favor, guys, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already, and be sure and hit that like button if this type of tutorial is helpful to you. It helps me know what type of videos I should be making for you guys. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Have an awesome day, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.